Today on Building the Open Metaverse.
The community that Roblox has, we have like tens of millions of free 3D assets on the marketplace that people are reusing. People are making 90,000 experiences or games per day.
Welcome to Building the Open Metaverse, where technology experts discuss how the community is building the open metaverse together. Hosted by Patrick Cozzi from Cesium and Marc Petit from Epic Games.
I'm Marc Petit from Epic Games, and my co-host is Patrick Cozzi from Cesium. Patrick, how are you?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing well. As usual, I'm looking forward to today's episode. Like many people in the community, I'm excited about the barrier to entry to becoming a 3D creator and creating 3D experiences becoming easier and easier. And we have someone who's really leading the way here.
And by the way, congrats on the Google deal.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're excited for that.
A victory for open standards and a great moment for Cesium. So congrats. Yeah, so you hinted at it, Patrick. We have a great guest today, somebody who's already made a big impact on the industry and who recently joined another very impactful company who is Roblox. So we're super happy to welcome Stefano Corazza, VP and head of Roblox Studio and Roblox. Stefano, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure. So as you know, in the podcast, the first thing we ask our guests to do is to introduce themselves and tell us their journey to the metaverse.
My journey is definitely not a straight line. And so I actually started as a mechanical engineer in Italy. So something very far away from Silicon Valley, if you want. But I joined Stanford as part of an exchange program and then became a researcher. They are working on machine learning. Back in the days before convolutional neural networks were a thing. And then, was very passionate about animation, in particular 3D animation, and also democratizing creation of content. And so started my first company, Mixamo, back in 2008. And we were trying to democratize character animation, which is so hard to do. And then, that was an amazing journey that lasted 7 years. And then we were acquired by Adobe in 2015. And there it was kind of the start of the 3D journey for Adobe. So a great time to join. And then fast forward another 7 years. And I joined like 10 months ago, Roblox. And there I'm leading the team that is responsible for Roblox Studio, our tool that creators use to make Roblox experiences. And I'm also driving the generative AI strategy across the company, which is probably the most fun job I could ever dream about, because I'm a big avid user of Gen AI myself on the day-to-day, and it's really like a privilege to be working on such a future looking thing. I'm obsessed with the future. I love science fiction movies and books, and any way people think about how the future is going to be, and here it feels like we're actually living it. And so this is all super conducive, of course, for the metaverse, which needs a ton of content, and it feels like we have another inflection point now from user generated content. Now with AI, it's going to be another multiplier.
Yeah, you were into the future. I remember the early days of Mixamo. Says, well, what this Italian guy can do? I mean, we were all highly skeptical, and you turned it into something pretty magical. So
there's actually even more weird stuff about Mixamo. So you probably have seen the news about Jeff Hinton, who just left Google, right? The father of backpropagation and convolutional neural networks. So he used to be an advisor to Mixamo, and we hired one of his PhD students, Graham Taylor, back then, working at Mixamo, and we released in 2009 a generative animation engine. Basically using a restricted Boltzmann machine, which was the early version of convolutional neural networks. And the thing, the tech was not ready. So within, I think, 3 months, we swapped for a different approach that was a lot less fancy. But, that was basically very early days of Gen AI where the tech was not even remotely close to what it was today. And I had, the luck of really working with Jeff Hinton and Graham Taylor and learn a lot from them.
I think we have a lot of topics to cover, but let's go back to your time at Stanford around 2005. You were working on markerless motion capture. I was curious about the techniques you were envisioning then, and then where you see kind of the state of the art today.
Yeah, that sector on its own had a massive improvement in the last year. So back then we were working on markerless motion capture from video. We're using 8 high-speed cameras, and now you can almost get the same accuracy with a single camera. And so motion capture has been like a little bit of my obsession, because ultimately was the promise of like delivering amazing natural animation to anyone. And so one way is, you do mocap, and the other way is basically you use AI, or you use like data, like we did with Mixamo. But I mean, the technology went so far since then. Now, with using basically AI to regularize just even monocular video, you get amazing results. I am very lucky to be on the board of Rococo, a company based in Copenhagen that's really focusing on accessible mocap and democratizing that. They have the suit, but they also have like sensors, and they also have now released a couple of months ago this single camera AI-based tracking, and we are seeing like usage like explode. But the quality is now gonna be at the AAA level for a while, maybe never. But the accessibility of this is pretty mind-blowing.
So let's go back to Mixamo. You co-founded Mixamo, I think it was 2008, with Nazim Karimi.
Yep.
And it was acquired by Adobe in 2015. Remember that? And to this day, the Mixamo platform is still alive and kicking at Adobe. So, I mean, first, maybe not everyone knows about Mixamo. Can you tell us about the idea behind it?
Mixamo is the first online service for character animation. And so instead of having to learn complicated tools, you just you go to mixamo.com, you can upload your character. If it is rigged, we can apply animations out of like over 10,000 that we have over there. Or if it's not rigged, we actually use machine learning to rig your character, which historically was really like the blocker, right? A lot of 3D artists can model things really well. The vast majority of 3D artists can model. A smaller set can animate, and an even smaller set can rig, and an even smaller set actually want to rig. That's what we have found. And so we're trying to like solve this very technical problem so that artists didn't have to do it. We implemented machine learning, and in full disclosure, that algorithm I think was finished in 2013 for the auto rigging, has now been touched since then, as far as I know. And it's still like performing pretty well, and we have hundreds of thousands of people using it every month. So we're very proud of that, because basically it was just like the simplest UI to just solve the problem in a way that was like super clean, super easy, and empowering artists.
So if you were to start a online character animation platform in 2023, what would you do differently? It looks like the technology has evolved so much.
Yeah, the technology is pretty amazing. I would say, probably some of these AI-based monocular video technologies that can go from video to animation will be something that maybe we would offer on the platform. And then also we were always trying to go a little bit deeper into the character pipeline, and not just give you like the animations, but we wanted to give you like already like a full blend tree, so you can just plug in your avatar system with all the animation into the game directly. And I think there are companies that have been doing that. So a company that I have the privilege of advising, and also I'm an investor, is Ready Player Me, and they really like took the avatar service to the next level, providing like actually an SDK, and now recently they also added animation. So it's a way to go a little bit further, in the vertical stack, and give basically like a package that then you can actually plug into your game, and you have a full avatar system, not just animations for a few characters that you rigged. And so I think if I did today, there will be a lot of focus on like just video to mocap that anybody can use, and then also like a deeper integration into the game engines, I would say.
Yeah, we had Timo on the show, and actually, a next question would be, how far are we from having standard representations for characters? Because, we've seen that we've always been using the same characterization for the past 15 years. So you think we could turn this into a standard, a documented standard?
think they are kind of de facto standard. So the human IK one that you know very well in your past of Autodesk is what also we are using with Mixamo. So we have pumped out tens of millions of rigs over the last decade, in the market. And I think that's probably the most prevalent rig. And then for face, I remember when we sat down with Unity and Phase Shift CEO, and we said, okay, let's define like a standard rig for the face, and we boiled this down to like 42, 44 blend shapes, and then they were acquired by Apple, and that became basically the now all the emojis that we see on the phone, and so that also became the ARKit standard. So I see like some of these are not official standards, but are basically the most prevalent way to do things. And so those like 40, 50 blend shapes the ARKit is supporting are, for what I can tell, like the most ubiquitous for face and human IK, and maybe also biped to some extent is probably the most prevalent for body rigs. So we're getting there. Maybe we should call it like an official standard and make an explicit effort towards that, because there's just a lot more. Like, how do you expand it? How do you customize? Everybody wants to customize the rig. Like, everybody's gonna have one extra tail or wings. So figuring out like a schema that is the standard also for customizing those rigs, I think would be super valuable, because then we can have amazing interoperability, not just between tools, but potentially between metaverses. And I think this is something that Ready Player Me has really pushed. They have like thousands of companies now using that one rig, and I think we could formalize it as a standard, and I think that would be great for the industry.
Yeah, we discussed that a couple of weeks ago with André Gauthier from Unity, and he's also presented at the Metaverse Standards Forum. So I think that idea is moving along. Just one last question to me: can you load a Mixamo animation in Roblox Studio?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, for me, the most heartwarming thing is the amount of like video tutorials, plugins that people have made to use Mixamo everywhere. Like, it's just unbelievable. Sometimes I just Google things and like, oh, this guy made a plugin for this tool that I didn't even know existed. So definitely the community took it on. And, when you give something for free, Mixamo service used to cost $1,500 a year subscription. And then, since 2015, it's free. So the users exploded. And of course, the community is trying to like enable it to go anywhere.
Yeah, Steph, congrats with democratizing animation there and building such a strong community and ecosystem. So we wanted to speak a little bit about Adobe. So Mixamo was acquired by Adobe, and then you became the first leader of the 3D organization there, and you were in charge of AR. So looking back, I was curious what you're most proud of.
Yeah, those have been like 7 years, really, really fun. We developed the kind of new generation 3D tool that is now called Adobe Stager, Dimension Stager, two basically SKUs of the same. And it was like, we added like a lot of machine learning in there as well. We added like automatic UV creation using machine learning, so people didn't have to even understand what a UV is. They could model, bring it in, we'll take care of that. We also added automation, machine learning automation to create IBLs. And so we're just trying to apply the same formula, which is take the most technical task where there is the least amount of creative input, and then just completely automate it with no UI, right? So who wants to like spend hours like unwrapping UVs? Like, nobody wants to do that, right? And so we tackle a lot of those, and I think it was really fun. Then it was obvious for Adobe. I mean, I've been like with a friend with Seb and Alexia Algorithmic for many years, and for Adobe it was like the most adjacent 3D business, if you want to. I mean, Photoshop, Substance Painter is the Photoshop of 3D. So it made so much sense. And, I've been like an actual user of those tools myself that I really like. And so it made sense over time to basically have Algorithmic join Adobe as well. I was on the board for 2 years, worked very closely with the team until we made the acquisition. And so that was, I think, a big multiplier where the 3D organization went from like 30 people to like 200 overnight. And now, we added also AR. Adobe didn't have a play in that space, and we partnered very closely with Apple. And now there's like Adobe Aero that I think recently announced also a partnership with Google where you can geolocate experiences anywhere in the world and relocalize them. The team is doing like a fantastic job. And so these are all things that were built over the 7 years that I'm very proud of. And I'm very proud of what the teams there have in terms of vision and where they're going to take it to the next level.
With the presence of Guido Caroni and the focus on USD, I think it will bring Adobe, and playing a very big role in the world of 3D.
Sure.
So, but recently you joined Roblox as the head of Roblox Studio. And so Roblox Studio is the tool you said that the Roblox Reader used to create the games and experiences. And actually, I was thinking about it. I think Roblox, if you use one number, is 250 million MAUs, monthly active users. How many of them use the tool?
So yeah, we report in terms of like daily. I think we are like a 67 million daily active users. I don't know if we are publicly disclosing the numbers of Studio, other than, it's in the millions, of course, as you can imagine. And we are even more proud to say basically how many developers actually are making money on it, which is a number that is constantly increasing. I think it's probably like the number that we are the most proud of. Like there are people making a living and really like earning money. I think we have 2.7 million creators. They are using Studio. They are earning Robux.
What I was getting at is with those numbers, it doesn't matter which number it is, but you say it's in the millions. Probably one of the most used 3D content creation software in the world. It's probably up there as the most used tool. So that's quite a responsibility you have there.
It's a big responsibility. Yeah. Also, the one thing that people don't realize sometimes is that Roblox Studio is at any given time running a single version, and we update that weekly, right? So we don't have version 5.7, and then we can keep going. Then we support the older one, so everything needs to be backwards compatible, and then everything runs on a single version. So that has major advantages. So we can move faster because we support only one version, but also there are a lot of constraints because we cannot break the workflow of creators that are making games, and they are building this game, and then tomorrow we update the version, and so we can't break things. And so that's kind of was a unique, I would say, a unique challenge. Really fun, but it's basically making everything more like real time than other tools in the industry. And I think with new challenges and new advantages.
So you've seen a lot of tools in your career. You integrated Mixamo in all the game engines, in all the content authoring tools. So what's so specific about Roblox Studio?
The community that Roblox has is like, it's hard to imagine the size of it. We have like tens of millions of free 3D assets on the marketplace that people are reusing. And people are making 90,000 experiences or games per day that they are pushing. So the scale, I think is at the same level of like Spotify and how many songs they go live every day. So the scale of that is pretty staggering, I would say. And what we have found is on the marketplace, people are very eager to make things and then just leave it there for other people to reuse. So it's a community that likes to learn and to help each other, and I think that's kind of the unique value. People are when they are on Roblox and use Roblox Studio, they feel extremely also opinionated about it and passionate about it, and so I think is probably the closest relationship to the community that I've ever seen any tool have. This week we published our roadmap for the year, because the community was like, we want to know what you're working on, what your priorities are. We want to, of course, chime in on those. And so we decided to go for full transparency, and basically we published on our dev forum the full roadmap for Studio and also beyond Studio. So I think it's probably the most symbiotic relationship with the community that I ever seen for a tool. And that was kind of new and also exciting, but at the same time, again, a lot of responsibility because they're also very vocal.
I want to talk a little bit about generative AI. I mean, I know Roblox has already shipped a few features, and congrats on being so early to that. And thanks for your presentations at GTC. So I was curious, kind of what techniques do you think in the short term are going to have the biggest impact, whether it's code generation or neural rendering?
So we launched at GDC Code Assist, which is basically the co-pilot for Studio, and then we also launched the material generator, both using Gen AI. And this was just the start. We wanted to really understand, how things were evolving, how this was perceived and received by the community. This has been like incredibly positive instead of feedback, instead in terms of like productivity, how much this increased the productivity of people and how much people really push the tool, especially the material generator, to create like crazy stuff. We have a clear path for those two, I would say, line of productivity. Right now, you can create only tileable materials. It would be nice if you actually can retexture things. And then it will be even nicer if you can retexture your whole game based on a style. Like you could get like 10 concept art boards, feed them into Stable Diffusion, and then say, generate only stuff that is compliant with that style, potentially, right? So that's the one kind of line of productivity that is pretty obvious, like just basically helping people texture using words and descriptors instead of actually doing, the pushing pixels. And then for code, we started with like more experienced developers to make them more productive, but there's so many more people that don't know how to code. Actually, a lot of kids are learning to code on Roblox. And Lua is also pretty close to Python, so this thing serves them well going forward for their career if they want to take on computer science or so. But we don't have the tools to really teach all those things, what functions to use if you want to add audio to a game object and so on. And so we are now moving a little bit downstream there, where we want to empower people that are less expert about scripting or coding, and then really bring them into the fold and empower them. And so those two productivity basically lines they have a clear line of sight on where we want to be, and basically we need to have like a conversational AI be able to like help you like create all kind of interactivity very easily without understanding all the details of the code. We want to help you like retexture, but if you really like squint and look long term, I think the future is gonna be large language models that will do everything, right? They will have an awareness of your scene graph. They will understand what you're trying to do. They will understand your intent, your creative intent, and they will understand what your development environment can do and what your tools can do, and then will just guide you through that like a companion, instead of developing individual features that like we are seeing today, which are, by the way, super useful, but ultimately I think we're gonna have just one unified interface run by one large language model that will be able to do pretty much everything.
Do you think we can get to plausible, intelligent NPCs?
I mean, NPCs is probably not like a top priority for Roblox because everything is multiplayer, so there's always like a bunch of people. But think about you take a book and you feed it into AI, and then AI will make the game of that book. That will be unbelievable, right? So things like along those lines where you can just describe words and just give a hint of how it's gonna happen. Imagine like how detail is a novel describing these environments, and imagine if you could just feed that and then you can leave that word yourself. That would be pretty mind-boggling.
So, Steph, I want to congratulate you on the release of the gltf import in Roblox Studio. Love to see the support for the open ecosystem. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about the philosophy and the importance of interoperability for Roblox Studio.
This is definitely, I don't deny that this was a project that I've been, very excited about, and I've been very, very involved since I joined. At the end, GLTF is like maybe second or third generation iteration of trying to build a standard built on all the learnings of Collada, and I think the team has done a fantastic job. The Kronos group in making a format that is amazing for transmission and interop. And so we wanted to make sure that we had like solid foundations in terms of like ingestion of content. And so I'm very excited that that we have that in studio. I think also one thing I wanted to say is there are also a lot of advantages for that format in terms of like performance, which for us is so important, right? So there's always the discussion, USD and GLTF, and people see them as like potentially mutually exclusive, but actually I think USD is becoming like a really great for as an authoring format, but ultimately for runtime, for delivery, and for interop when you're like more downstream in the creation pipeline. I think GLTF is going to be pretty amazing. And some of the people at Roblox and formerly Mixamo, who call out Emiliano, also helped on GLTF 2.0 effort. I think he is responsible for adding blend shape support that the community really wanted, back then. So we're definitely, very, very involved and very supportive of that.
But I mean, you mentioned USD. There's a growing opinion that USD can be a great foundation to support layering and compositing, a little bit like HTML, and NVIDIA has shown last SIGGRAPH how you could use USD to reference, and compose a bunch of GLTF files. So is that something that a vision that you share?
I was part of the Metaverse forum when I was at Adobe. And there was some discussion also about how a GLTF or some other variations of it could also be used as a experience descriptor, and also embed like behaviors. And GLTF itself could be used to describe multiple scenes. So I think there is really like whether the focus is on like highly powerful hardware that is used to like do content creation versus consumption, because the memory footprint and the compression level of USD and GLTF are very different. And so I see there is a little bit of overlap where they have similar capabilities now. Both formats are growing, of course, and so the features that they have are increasing, and so there is a little bit of increasing overlap between the two, if you want. But I think the focus, one versus like authoring and being, full encompassing, and the other one being efficient for runtime and transmission still stays. And I think, and I think they will both coexist because of that different focus.
I think, Patrick and I are co-chair with Guido Caroni of the group at the Metaverse Transform that looks after that. And that's what we're trying to do, is really making sure that the two can evolve, but in a way that enable lossless conversion between them. So that's really the work that's doing there.
There was an initiative. I didn't keep track, but I think also NVIDIA.
You need to come back.
I would love to. By the way, I would love to. Just life has been so busy since joining Roblox, but I would love to join. Given that you do not have a Roblox representative on the forum, I'll be super happy. Actually, I wrote an email to Neil saying like, hey, I'm interested. But there was this test of like, can we distill directly a GLTF from a USD? And I think it's a great idea.
So Steph, in some ways, this whole conversation so far has been about democratizing the ability to create 3D content and 3D experiences. And I mean, you and the team have done amazing work with Roblox Studio in achieving this mission. I didn't know if there's just any anecdotes that you'd want to share on, examples.
I mean, I think probably what got the most press was Frontlines. The Call of Duty Roblox version, if you want, fully multiplayer, that attracted a lot of also older players. Our segment between 17 and 24 years old is the fastest growing of all. And so that segment likes more like aged up type of experience. So the shocking thing, so this game is basically like Call of Duty, fully multiplayer, like pretty amazing quality, given, still the constraints this has to run also on mobile, Android, and so on. But the shocking part was that it was built by a team of 6. And, you look at it and you imagine hundreds of people in a big game company. And it was 6 people, because so much of the infrastructure, all the multiplayer, matchmaking, all that stuff is all taken care of, out of the box. So that was a pretty shocking thing. And I've heard about other games that have had tens of millions of users, where they were built by 2 guys. Okay, now they hired a third one. The team increased by 50% size. Unbelievable. I will give you my own personal anecdote. So when I left Adobe, we were discussing, hey, how do we make 3D modeling collaborative and all that stuff. So one weekend I just joined Roblox, and I wanted to try to build a multiplayer modeling tool, or you call it a collaborative tool for modeling. So it was very simple. You have a big cube, all voxels, and then you click on the little voxels, and then they disappear, and then you can basically do volume carving. But I built it. I could do it with 6 friends, and then I could push a button, and then I could do it on my phone, right? So I am on my phone. My friend has the desktop. We are both modeling this thing together. This whole thing took 6 lines of code to build. And I was like, oh my God, there is so much infrastructure already there. With 6 lines of code, and probably now I can probably do it with a single line of text, and then our code assets will convert into code. But that gives you a sense for we are used to these massive teams, spending 5 years on a game, and now you can do so much more, and the speed of iteration is gonna go so fast. Now with the Gen AI is gonna be more pervasive, and we're gonna see amazing games made by a handful of people over a few months. So very much looking forward to that.
So we talked about Gen AI and Open Standard. Outside of that, what's the next big thing for Roblox Studio in your mind?
For the rest of the years, the big thing is the least sexy thing that we are focusing on, making very robust and taking care of some of the depth and some of the features that the community has asked for a long time. So that's a big focus. But we do have this year more Gen AI that we are hoping to ship. Actually, now the roadmap is public, so I can openly talk about it. And so we hope to really get a couple of next level Gen AI features in there. We are also excited about deepening the connection with some of the other DCCs and the tools that people are using. Blender is one of the most used tools by our community, also because it's free like Studio, and so there's no barrier to access. And so we want to make sure that we enable that workflow. I mean, gltf was a part of that, but we're gonna do something I think even more integrated in the next months.
I know you well. You're more than a nerd. And I wanted to touch on that. I mean, you're a deep technologist, but you're also an artist. And I know you've been, at Adobe, you were running some sort of Adobe gallery, right? If I remember well.
Yeah, the Festival of the Impossible. Yeah, I started while at Adobe, yeah.
So what have you been doing lately as an artist?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed working with musicians. I did, at Mixamo, we had the privilege of motion capturing Bjork in our studio. She was dancing and singing an unreleased songs, and then for some of us that was a mystical experience, and so that was very exciting. And so right now at the moment I try to take on only one side art project at a time and be diligent about it. So I paused a little bit the music production, and now I'm helping a friend of mine who's an amazing musician. His name is Radical Face, like the name of the band, and he's working on some production that involves also animation. I don't think I can talk about too much about it, but I'm spending time in Blender doing 3D VFX work and pipeline right now, and then trying to composite that with 2D content, and it's been super fun.
So what can Roblox bring to musicians?
So this year, actually in December, we did a hackathon, and the focus of the project that I did with other 5 fellows was to bring live concerts to the platform. So imagine we also saw like the Taylor Swift thing that happened with the tickets, where like there were millions of people that wanted to attend, and it was like a moment of like a social panic that people couldn't. Imagine like how many people would have gone to that concert. It would be probably in the tens of millions, but the venue, I don't know, had maybe 50,000 or 100,000. So imagine if you can create a digital twin of your experience in real time and have that concert be streamed on Roblox, and then anybody can do that. I think Epic has shown, and we have shown that we can do, one-off concerts. But what if that capability was just released to any musician on the planet? They can go to a venue, they put on a suit, they have gloves, they play guitar or they play piano in real time. That animation, that performance, the music is all streamed into an experience that everybody can join for maybe like 1 cent instead of $20. So that was the thing that I'm super passionate. We did it as a hackathon. We proved it is possible and working, and now we are working to actually bring it to the market. And I think it's gonna be for the music industry, a big revolution, because ultimately artists do tour, and touring for them is one of the primary ways of like both getting known, but also income. And so if now you can add the fact that they can perform for anyone on the planet, I think it's going to really help the music industry, and it's going to help artists and musicians make a living off it.
We covered so much good stuff today, from animation to generative AI to Roblox Studio. It's amazing what's being done to democratize access to 3D. We'd love to wrap up if you'd like to give a shout out to any person or organization or multiple ones.
I think the most intense years probably have been like Mixamo. Every startup goes through near-death experiences, and I think we have a few. So my gratitude goes to Emiliano, who we've been working together for like 15 years now. He's back in Roblox Studio, so I'm working closely with him. We were at Stanford, and he was an intern at the time, so he's been like an amazing person to work with, and he built most of the technology Mixamo. There is still all the machine learning stuff, and it's been amazing to work with him as a partner. Silvio Druin, now SVP of Innovation at Unity, was also for a period of time at Mixamo. It definitely helped us a lot. Charles, one of our most amazing engineers, people that turned down offers from Google to join Mixamo and make it up. And Jeremy was my director of engineering. People that really believe in the vision, and also some people believe in the vision were not engineers, were investors. So Alessandro Viro, my lead investor, that really believed in the company through it. So I have a lot of gratitude for these people, and they really believe in the idea and in the journey. And so I would love to take a moment to just thank them.
Stefano, I know you for a long time, and I know you're an innovator and entrepreneur. I could not think of a better place for you than Roblox to demonstrate all your skills. So thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you very much for everything, especially around character animation. You've contributed a lot.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.
And thank you, Patrick. And thank you, everybody who's listening. As you know, you can find us on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and you can reach us directly at feedback@buildingtheopenmetaverse.org. Thank you very much for being there, and we'll be back for another episode. Thank you.